Good evening. It's good to know you're with us here on CoreTV as we bring 7 o'clock package of our news bulletin to you. I am Emmanuel Ezekiel. The Supreme Court has stopped the National Assembly from taking steps to further amend the 1999 Constitution. The court wants federal lawmakers to maintain the status quo until June 18, when the matter comes up for hearing. The ruling was delivered on Thursday morning by a 7-man panel led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Mahmood Mohammed. The Supreme Court also ordered that a notice of hearing is served on the principal leaders of the National Assembly to enable them respond to the suit filed by President Goodluck Jonathan. The Jonathan administration had on April 27 urged the Supreme Court to issue an order of interlocutory injunction against both chambers of the National Assembly. The government had urged the court to stop the lawmakers from overriding the president's veto after he refused to give his assent to the fourth alteration of the 1999 Constitution. In the meantime, the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Adamu Muazu, has dared Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose to release evidence of his alleged collaboration with the All Progressives Congress. Muazu, who is not at present in the country, threw the challenge via his Twitter handle on Thursday. He, however, wondered if the evidence the Ekiti State Governor claimed to have would be like the one he tabled to show that President-elect Muhammadu Buhari was in a London hospital at the time he went to deliver a lecture at the Chatham House. Meanwhile, Senate President David Mark has raised the alarm that the People's Democratic Party, PDP, might be heading for a final destruction if the infighting among its leaders was not immediately resolved. Mark, while receiving the Senator Ike Ekweremadu PDP Post-Election Review Committee in Abuja, said the acrimony between top members of the party was dangerous. Mark urged all the PDP members to return to the drawing board instead of washing their dirty linen in the public. The outgoing Senate President expressed confidence that Ekweremadu and his team would do a good job and address the remote and immediate causes of what he described, and I quote, our misfortune, and make recommendations that will enhance the future of our party, end of quote. Mark called on all stakeholders to rise above the this present circumstances and work hard to rejuvenate the PDP. He said that the new status of the party as an opposition was, and I quote, a challenge that all our party members must face with all honesty, sincerity and purpose. Of course, dedication to duty, end of quote. Mark said democracy in Nigeria would be much better if the party played credible opposition role. Now, Niger State Governor Babangida Aliyu has gone to court in a bid to stop an alleged move by the State House of Assembly to impeach him. This was after the state legislators successfully impeached Speaker Adamu Usman, who is a staunch loyalist of the governor. The court, however, fixed May 27 for hearing in the matter. And moving on now to security matters, police on lawmakers now. The police have barred the newly sworn-in Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly, Issa Kawu, from gaining access into the chamber to preside over legislative activities. The entrance to the assembly was barricaded by armed policemen who stopped the state legislators from entering the legislative complex. Basi Aye, who is just back from Mina, says the tear gas was used by the police to disperse the lawmakers. A report.
It was drama galore on Wednesday at the Niger State House of Assembly complex, a day after the erstwhile Speaker, Adamu Usman, was impeached. The new principal officers, led by Issa Kawu, the new Speaker, had turned up to assume office, but that was not to be. And the reason is not far-fetched. Security operatives had sealed off the premises and could be seen swarming the area. The state legislators were ready to stand their ground and demand entry. The new Speaker, however, insists that they should be allowed to perform their functions, since they are not out to cause any mischief.
I think there was some kind of insinuation that maybe something sinister, something unfortunate may happen if the House sat. Well, whatever it would be. To the best of our knowledge, nobody has any plans of the removal of any public officer, particularly governor and deputy governor. We have never talked about it. It's not been debated. It's not on our agenda. But things can easily be misconstrued.
The newly elected legislators described the scenario as shameful, but maintained that change is inevitable.
What is happening at the assembly is not surprising. It's one of the things that we should expect. Always expect the unexpected, but when it comes, when it comes, we know how to handle that.
The practice of today's government, I believe very well it is going to change, because it's very unfortunate that if a policeman will lock a legislator, refusing him to enter his complex is very unfortunate.
In the last couple of days, impeachment of elected government officials appears to have become a great trend. But while those involved are convinced that the actions are right, public commentators remain skeptical, especially coming at the tail end of their tenure. Basia Ye, CoreTV News, Niger.
Away from impeachment stories, President Goodluck Jonathan on Wednesday marked 5 years since he took over the mantle of the nation's leadership. It will be recalled that Jonathan was on May 6, 2010, inaugurated as the president by the then Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloysius Katsina Alu. That followed the death on May 5, 2010, of the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who he served for 3 years as vice president. The nation's constitution recommends that the vice president automatically takes over upon the death of the president. After completing Yar'Adua's tenure, Jonathan contested and won the 2011 presidential election, but lost his re-election bid in 2015. The president, however, marked the 5th anniversary of his presidency in a low-key manner. As the day coincided with the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council, he only asked 2 ministers to pray according to the Christian and Islamic injunctions. That was a clear departure from the past, when the second stanza of the National Assembly was always used as the opening prayers during the council meetings. The Minister of Power, Chinedu Nebo, and the Minister of State for Finance, Bashiru Yuguda, took turns to render special prayers for the President, his family, and the nation. Jonathan took the council members by surprise when he arrived at the council chambers and announced that a member was celebrating his birthday. When members could not identify the celebrant, the president came to their aid, saying it was the anniversary of his presidency. They all clapped to the admiration of the president. Now, the outgoing President Goodluck Jonathan is insisting that the legacies he is bequeathing to Nigerians will not be easily forgotten. He said this during the commissioning of 3 major projects of his administration in Abuja. The projects include the Umaru Yar'Adua Expressway, otherwise known as the Airport Road, the main terminal of Abuja Light Rail Project, and the Kubwa Expressway, all in Abuja. All the projects, according to the government, have reached 90% completion. Moving on now, as the tenure of winds down for the Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola, they have apologized to residents who felt negative impact of policies of his administration. Fashola has apologized to the people and saying that, well, the people can reckon with his administration as well. Fashola, who stated this at an event marking his 2,900 days in office, disclosed that every policy of his government was tailored towards providing greater goods to a greater number of residents. Abiola Luwole has more on this story. His report is presented from our studios.
The 100-day account of stewardship is a tradition adopted by Governor Fashola to update residents about government policies, and marking the 2,900 days in office is in continuation of such tradition. Speaking on the stride of his administration in the last 100 days in office, Fashola says all decisions taken by his government were made to ensure good governance for residents.
To those that I may have offended, I apologize. On a daily basis, for 2,900 days, I made decisions in attending to hundreds, if not millions of files that I attended to daily. I took those decisions in the best interest of Lagos, based on the facts as presented to me. I could not have got all of them right. It was impossible.
Reacting to Apapa traffic gridlock caused by tanker drivers, Fashola blamed the inability of federal government to transport fuel through the rail system to avoid a recurrence of the traffic challenge.
I hope that we will be able to transport fuel properly over the next few years by rail. More importantly, I hope that we will stop the idea where the whole nation depends on only one source, or substantially only one source for fuel. What we have now in Apapa that is causing pain is that there are over 6,000 tankers in Apapa today trying to lift fuel to supply every part of Nigeria.
As Fashola prepares to pass on the baton to the incoming administration on 29th of May 2015, the expectation of residents, according to political watchers, is a state government that will continue to place premium on the spread of dividends of democracy.
And now to impeachment saga. Less than 3 weeks to the handover impeachment sack and appointment seems to be the priority of the outgoing administration. Oluwaseyi Adegoke met with some Lagos legal practitioners and tells us why this is on in this report.
The essence of impeachment is for checks and balances between the legislature and executives. The rate at which lawmakers recently serve impeachment notice or make the move is quite alarming and should be looked into.
There is a reason for inserting an impeachment clause in the Constitution. It's not something that you trivialize. At every slightest opportunity, you either want to remove the governor or you want to remove the deputy, and some of the reasons they give for removal is so bizarre. This abuse, of this impeachment provision must be looked into by the incoming government. We must insert, clauses that will ensure that they do not in any way trivialize it.
The latest in the impeachment saga is the Enugu case, where the lawmakers have successfully impeached the Speaker, Eugene Udo, and are making moves to impeach the State Governor, Sullivan Chime. Earlier, the former Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, was sacked by President Jonathan on April 12, 2015, replacing him with Solomon Arase few weeks to handover. According to this lawyer, fallout of the outgoing administration seems to be the cause of these frictions in some states and federal level.
So many of the things they possibly would have done earlier, they are now beginning to do at the 11th hour. And that is very unfortunate because some of the actions of the outgoing government cannot be sustained. Some of those actions cannot be sustained. And the new administration will review some of those things. It's expected because you cannot gag a man in his own activities. You cannot begin to put in people and ask the new man not to have a second look at such people that you put. Because what if the people are not competent enough to be in that position? Is he going to leave them? He will obviously review all those appointments that are coming very late in time, and then those that are competent enough to hold the appointment, he may be good enough to allow them to carry on.
With less than 3 weeks to hand over, Nigerians hope the new administration will be able to correct the anomalies both in the state and federal level for democracy to thrive in Nigeria. Oluwaseyi Adegoke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The federal government on Wednesday absolved itself of blame in the inability of some state governments to pay their workers' salary. It said the governors of such states should be blamed for the development in their states because they were told through the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee to make the issue of wage a priority. The Minister of Finance, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, said this in a statement by her Special Advisor on Communications, Paul Nwabueku. The statement was necessitated by the All Progressives Congress governor's claim that the negative manner of the outgoing Goodluck Jonathan administrations were running the economy had made it difficult for them to pay salaries regularly. But Okonjo-Iweala said that despite the 50% drop in gross federal collectible revenue, the federal government had made the issue of workers' salary a top priority in order to ensure that the people do not feel the negative impact of the revenue drop on the economy. For instance, the minister said that contrary to misinformation being put forward by certain governors to the effect that the federal workers are being owed staff salaries at the federal level are up to date. She said in the 5-paragraph statement that the states, being one of the 3 tiers of government that receive monthly allocations from the Federation account, should be blamed for their predicament. The APC governors had, during a meeting with President-elect Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja, expressed frustrations about their inability to pay workers' salaries. They therefore appealed to Buhari to consider a bailout plan for all the 36 state governments after his inauguration on May the 29th. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Labour Congress had on April 28 insisted that the state governors must pay outstanding salaries. Away from salaries matters now to giving of certificate where newly elected legislative members that will resume the 7th Assembly of Edo State House of Assembly come May 29, 2015 have been presented with their certificates of return. The State Resident Electoral Commissioner Mike Guinea, who presented the certificates at the Commission's office in Benin, commended Edo people for the successful conduct of the 2015 election. He said democracy is not a final product that you graft into society, but a dynamic process that must be nurtured and enriched with growth and evolution of society. Our Edo State correspondent filed in this report.
At the presentation ceremony held at the Commission's premises, only 23 members representing the various constituencies received their certificates, while one elected member representing Ego was absent with no reason given. The area was security tight and only 2 people were allowed to accompany those who were to receive the certificates.
Please come forward. Desmond Rivers.
Victor Edaro, a 2-time member, and Henry Okwarobo, in an interview said with the caliber of people that will form the 7th Assembly, they will ensure a stable legislative period and they promise to advance the cause of Edo people.
The 24 of us are here and we are promising Edo State a very stable legislative period.
The effective representation that we said during the campaign, which we promised you, is our core cardinal program, and we will not deviate from it.
Some of the newly elected members were seen taking photographs with their friends, family members, and colleagues.
Still in Edo State, but now to protest where council workers in the state of Ego local government has taken to the streets over what they describe as misappropriation of funds and failure to pay salaries on the part of the council's administration. Again, our Edo State correspondent filing this update from Benin.
Over 30 of the about 700 staff under the employ of the Ego Local Government Council in Edo State have protested to the Edo NUJ peacefully to demand help from the union to assist them in ensuring that the council chairman delivers on the council's obligations to workers. They also called on the state governor, Adams Oshiomhole, to help rescue them from the ineptitude of the local government administration.
Chairman of the local government refused to pay our salary. Every month as election comes, they will tell us the election that comes is always small, but they will take their secret votes. They will take out their family. For 5 months now, we have not received salary. That's why we cried to the Nigerian Union of Journalists to help us to beg the local government chairman to pay our salary all before Friday.
A spokesperson for the group, Fatai Giwa Osagi, says the workers will be left with no other option but to go on strike if there is no payment by Monday, 11th May.
We have given them 5 days ultimatum. After Friday, no alert of our 5 months salary. On Monday, we'll do work and no work. We'll build the council, no work. We are going to shut down the system of the council. We are going to lock the gates. Not coming in, not going out. We'll live in the gate match there.
The council chairman could, however, not be reached for his own side of the story.
If you've just joined us, this is CoreTV News at 7. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return, our stories, one of which will be focused on the former Commonwealth Secretary General's visit and the Presidential Advisory Council for International Relations farewell visit to the President. Stay with us.
Every day of the week will bring to you divergent views on news making the headline.
If people who commit crime are being rewarded, with national honors, with national appointments, then where are we going in this country?
It's not about whether it was Jonathan or whether you are going to have a Buhari. It's the kind of political structure we run.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
We are talking about a Buhari who at 41 became head of state. The man did not exhibit the attribute of somebody that is strong intellectually.
So, comrade, you're saying if you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada? You will bring back the market women on the streets?
Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest, we bring all of this to the court of public opinion, where you are the judge.
Welcome back. Well, you can reach us on the following social media platforms to track our stories: Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News, or our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. You can also check our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space and the news. Our former Commonwealth Secretary General Emeka Anyako is concerned about the expectations of Nigerians from the incoming government. He expressed this concern to journalists shortly after a courtesy call on President-elect Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. Meanwhile, Pastor Tunde Bakare also made a similar comment. But like the former Commonwealth Secretary General, he is convinced that the Buhari government will be a success.
The former Commonwealth Secretary General is here visiting President-elect Buhari one day after he held a farewell meeting with the outgoing president. And stepping out of the closed session with the incoming president, Anyako spoke about the great expectations of Nigerians from the incoming government.
I believe that the high expectations are based first on the promises he made during the campaigns to the people, but more importantly on the general perception of his character. He is perceived as a man with a very strong sense of discipline, a man who is truly averse to corruption, a man whose lifestyle has been frugal, not ostentatious.
The former Commonwealth Secretary General also expressed confidence in the ability of the president-elect. He is convinced that Nigeria's challenges will be surmounted if Buhari's personal qualities are brought to bear on governance.
A man with a very strong commitment to the welfare of the masses. I believe that his administration, if his administration reflects these qualities, that the country's challenges and problems will be effectively tackled.
Another high-profile visitor at the Defense House was the man who ran on the same presidential ticket with the retired general in 2011. Tunde Bakare wants Nigerians to give the president-elect some time to stabilize before expecting results.
Rome was not built in a day, but it could be destroyed in split seconds. And so if there had been a mess in the country for a long time, and you now have opportunity to correct it block by block, layer by layer, it would take time to build. And government is a continuum. By that I mean there are institutional memories, and we hope the handover will be smooth and we'll be able to move Nigeria forward.
Both men are convinced that President-elect Muhammadu Buhari has a strong sense of discipline that will have a great impact on the incoming government. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now to another fallout of the fight against insurgency, where the Nigeria Air Force is convinced that the recent aerial bombardment of Boko Haram's position have substantially reduced the group's ability to carry out coordinated attacks in any part of the country. Chief of Air Staff Adeshola Amosu attributes this to the success of intelligence missions and the readiness of troops to end the insurgency after initial setbacks. He was speaking at a news conference to herald the 51st anniversary of the Nigeria Air Force in Abuja. More details in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the National Emergency Management Agency has said that it had received over 3,000 Nigerians deported from Niger. The agency also disclosed that it will still take custody of over 6,000 Nigerians deported from Niger Republic. This was disclosed by the agency's Director of Research and Rescue, Air Commodore Charles Otegbade. He said that they were not ruling out the fact that the figure might grow beyond 6,000. Otegbade also revealed that the returnees were from 10 states, including Taraba, Adamawa, Sokoto, Kebbi, Benue, Zamfara, Borno, Yobe, Bauchi, and Kano State. He said arrangements had been made to move them to their respective states. He also said that already contact had been made with the affected state's emergency management agency. He said that most of those that had arrived were without any health issues. Otegbade, however, said that 3 pregnant women in the first batch complained about minor health challenges and were taken to health facilities in Gaidam. According to him, they left Nigeria for Niger to catch fishes on the islands of the country. Some of the deportees who spoke to our correspondent claimed that they were treated harshly by the Nigerian military. One of them, Daniel Abba, said that they had to trek a long distance before they could get transport back to Nigeria. Another deportee, a pregnant woman, Fatima Ali, said during the trek, 4 pregnant women died. She said that there were many Nigerians who would have loved to come back home, that they were trapped in the area. Now, barely 48 hours after the Taro community in Wase local government area in the southern senatorial district of Plateau State alleged that over 500 of their people were killed by the security operatives in a night raid that lasted 4 hours, no fewer than 35 persons have been confirmed dead in another fresh attack by unknown gunmen suspected to be Fulani herdsmen in 2 villages in Barikin Ladi, LGA, in the northern senatorial zone of the state. Who is the outgoing chairman of the state, condemned the attack and accused security agencies of not protecting the lives of the citizens of the council. He lamented the incessant attacks in the locality and challenged security agencies, especially the Special Task Force, to take decisive steps towards arresting the attackers.
Here in particular and the local government, if federal government takes steps and security agents rise up to the challenge to curtail this ugly situation.
When contacted, the police public relations officer of the state, DSP Emmanuel Abu, said there was an attack in the aforementioned areas but couldn't give the casualty level.
Emergency management to come to the aid of the people. And also, I'm calling on the STF commander, the CP, to, as a matter of urgency, deployment to such areas. Because we are still noticing move, and we're hearing information that they want to go back again and attack.
Still in Plateau State, Governor Jonah Jang of the state has denied any involvement in the killings of citizens during clashes between militia groups and the military. Scores of people died amid reports, and Jang had deployed the military. The governor said it is a height of irresponsibility for anyone to envisage that for political reasons, a governor will connive with soldiers to kill his subjects. And I quote, he said, his executive assistant on media, Clinton Algoruba, said, he said it was widely known that neither the men of the Special Task Force nor the police take orders from him. And I continued that they are both controlled from Abuja by the defense headquarters and the force headquarters in that order. To insinuate that the Plateau State government has a hand in the matter is only a ploy to taint the image of the governor and the state government, the governor's spokesman said. Meanwhile, Garuba disclosed that the State Emergency Management Agency had been mandated to bring relief to the affected communities, where over 500 were reported massacred. In the meantime, the Special Task Force keeping the peace in Plateau said it had recovered 2 bodies out of the 3 missing soldiers at Kurmi, a border village between Taraba and Plateau State. STF spokesman Iweha Ikedishi said this to pressmen in an interview in Wase LGA, where 500 were alleged to have been massacred by the Nigerian army. It was reported that on April the 28th, a militia group allegedly killed 6 soldiers at Kurumi village and 3 others went missing. The continuous attacks by suspected militia group worsened as 9 soldiers were involved, which prompted the STF, in collaboration with the Free Armored Division, to locate and engage the group in a battle on Saturday. It is stated that 2 bodies of missing soldiers were found during the operation in Kurmi, Wadata and Kadarko communities, but they are still searching for the remaining bodies with prayers that they are alive. He said that the military was doing all it could to curb the excesses of the militia group, which had a strong hold on the communities. Ikedichi assured that the military would continue to put in its best to protect members of the affected communities and keep the peace on the plateau. Now, students of the University of Ibadan have blocked the Mokola Oja Road in the Oyo State capital, protesting the alleged death of a student. Details of the student's death remain sketchy as of time of filing this report on Thursday morning. It was, however, learned that the student was said to have suffered an asthmatic attack overnight, but was allegedly not attended to at the school clinic until he died. Tension has enveloped the institution's gate and environs, while shop owners in Agbowo Market have stayed off the area. We'll bring you more details later. And following the successful arrest of a three-man kidnapped gang and the rescue of a 62-year-old female victim, the Lagos State Police Command has called on Lagosians to be security conscious by keeping tabs of events happening around them and ensure that they report unusual activities that can breach the peace and safety of residents. Omotayo has details in this report.
One was sitting beside my side, and the other one was sitting I was just saying, why, who are you? I don't know you, I don't know you, before I know you.
Thankful to be alive to share a story, 62-year-old Kudirat Adeboye, who identified herself as a businesswoman, disclosed to the stoned audience that she was kidnapped by unknown armed men along Eleko-Ekpe Expressway while preparing to purchase food items, and was held hostage by the gang for about 6 days before her rescue. The gang, whose leader by the name Niyo Moshola lost his life while fleeing arrest, struck on 16th April, demanding a 50 million naira ransom from the victim's family, who negotiated to pay 3 million before the discovery of their hideouts by the police. All the members of the gang, who are in their 20s, confessed to several kidnappings within Aja, Elamoro, Akodo and Ekpe in Lagos, and also Ijebu-Ode in Ogun State, adding that poverty drove them to criminality.
They will always put me in the bush to stay that I don't have the confidence of doing it, but they will just put me in the bush and now bring the victim to the bush just for us to look after it.
The guy that introduced me to it, the people that he works with before, I took those ones do with information, but with his own. He knows nobody, but he just try to confuse, check someone. If this one is person we can attract, so that's only what he looks.
The police public relations officer Ken Onwosu says the command is working around the clock to arrest all the fleeing members of the gang.
We see collaboration from all relevant stakeholders, the private sector, the government, the people, and all of us. It's a collective thing.
The state police spokesman, however, assured residents that the force is working to ensure that kidnapping becomes a thing of the past. Omotayo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Away from that now, the All Progressives Congress governor-elect in Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has raised the alarm that some fraudsters had used his name to defraud unsuspecting members of the public across the state and beyond. Specifically, spokesman for the governor-elect, Samuel Aruwan, said the imposter created an email address similarly demanded money from the public. According to the governor-elect's media raid, this fraudster had sent several messages to people asking them to remit the sum of 150,000 naira to a Main Street bank account. He urged the public to be wary of such dubious action by fraudulent elements, warning that his principal never directed anybody to collect money on his behalf. Though he said the case had been reported to the Home and the relevant security agencies, Aruan cautioned the public to take the necessary precautions in order not to fall into the trap of the fraudsters. Well, this is still CoreTV News at 7. We'll go for a very quick break. We come back and bring you sports and, of course, foreign news. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Power style, and that's what he delivered. Usain Bolt storming through. He takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Vo taking them out in the lead and really.
He pulls up for a three. Yes. A good shot for a handball.
Welcome back. It's now time to bring you some foreign stories where President of the Nigeria Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, has revealed that a formal document formalizing the relationships with the Nigeria Football Association in order for the country to benefit from the English football expertise has been reached. Pinnick, who held a meeting with his counterpart from England, Greg Dyke, at the Wembley Stadium on Tuesday, said the FA is keen to work with the NFF and will do all it takes to put things in place and uplift Nigerian football. Greg Dyke was visibly interested in the goings-on in Nigeria. He was asking lots of questions and seemed satisfied with our answers, especially regarding the direction we are taking Nigerian football, Pinnick told the NFF website. He further said that, and I quote, "I made it very clear to him that we look up to England, not with envy, but with awe at their organizational ability, and we want to learn from them," end of quote. The former boss of the Delta State Football Association also noted that the FA has been of massive help to the federation, assisting in the training of capacity building of 2 batches of Nigerian referees since he assumed office. All chairmen of the state, FAs and other stakeholders in Nigeria football are expected to attend a leadership summit built for August in London. Now, Tottenham striker Emmanuel Adebayor has publicly laid bare some of the personal issues that have disrupted his career. The 31-year-old Togo international was granted personal leave by his club last December and has struggled this season. On Tuesday, he posted a lengthy message on his Facebook page giving an insight into the cause of what he described in March as his dark moments. In the post, Adebayor revealed the financial burden of supporting his family as well as ongoing conflicts. However, he urged his readers to keep in mind that none of this is about money and said the main purpose is not to expose his family members. Adebayor's complicated family life led to the Spurs giving him a time off. After returning to London, he almost left the club on transfer deadline in January to join West Ham. His open message on social media appears to be an attempt to answer some of the questions about why he was allowed to return home to Togo. Well, with that last sports story from England, we conclude the news at 7. Many thanks for joining us, and don't go away. In just a moment, we'll bring the Reporters Thursday's edition to you. I'm Emmanuel Ezekiel, and stay with us.